guys, it's Becky. Welcome back to my channel. I have another homeschooling video for you guys. I know some people get a little annoyed when I have a lot of homeschooling videos if they don't homeschool. There are certain times of the year when it's a lot of stuff going on in the homeschool world that you have to share. So usually that's at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. So if you don't like homeschooling videos, I'm sorry, but if you do, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. There are so many things that can stop you from homeschooling, even though you might really want to or feel like you should. And I think we've all experienced those. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you guys kind of the 4 things that really scared me the most about homeschooling, but how I overcame them and what I really learned was the reality of these fears. So for me, there were 4 main things that I was scared of before we ever started homeschooling that made me think I probably shouldn't do it or I probably can't do it. The first thing was that I'm not smart enough to homeschool. I think pretty much all of us would say that we are not teachers. We didn't go to school to be teachers, most of us, and maybe we weren't even the best students in the world, and that's okay. I think what really matters most is the fact that whether you're a genius or not, whether you're a college graduate or not, whether you're a high school graduate or not, your love for your kids should and hopefully will overcompensate for any lacking that you have in education. So as long as you are smart enough to know your weaknesses and know what you can and can't teach successfully, then that's the main thing. That is the main hurdle you have to get over, because there are tons of curriculums and programs and tutors you can use that can do the teaching for you. You're just kind of the facilitator and the in-between, if that makes sense. So for me, I am terrible at math and I'm really bad at explaining math and numbers. Just as soon as somebody says a number to me, it just instantly disappears. Like it never was said to me. And I never saw that number. And I don't know why, if there's something like wrong with my brain that it just does not like numbers, but that's kind of what happens. And so I knew with math in particular, I was like, I cannot teach math. What am I gonna do for math? Well, it turns out that there are programs that will teach your kids math for you. You don't have to teach math. And we use teaching textbooks. You guys know, if you've watched me for a while, that we love them and have used them since my oldest daughter was in 4th grade. Now she is just finishing 10th grade and working on geometry. My youngest has been using it for Math 3, Math 4, and she's in Math 5 right now. So definitely a great program. It teaches the lesson for me. It shows them if they miss it, like why did you miss it, and re-shows them how to work it, and it grades for me. So I don't have to do anything with math. This video is not sponsored by Teaching Textbooks. I'm just letting you know that it's a great option, and it really was. When I found Teaching Textbooks, I was like, maybe I can do this after all. Maybe I can homeschool because I don't have to worry about teaching math. And there are programs like that for pretty much every subject. You just have to be willing and able to do the research and the time that it takes to find these programs in whatever subjects that you're not comfortable teaching. So don't let the fact that you may not be a rocket scientist keep you from homeschooling your kids. As long as you love them and you know your strengths and weaknesses and you're willing to put the time in to find these programs that will help you, then you'll do okay, and so will your kids. The second thing was, I always said, I'm not patient enough to homeschool. I can't imagine being in charge of my kids' education and like having to answer all these questions and knowing what I'm doing. And like, I'm not a terribly patient person. I try to be, but I'm not. And at this point, my oldest daughter was still in public school. So like, she was being taught by someone else, and all I had to do was just have her home at the end of the day and enjoy her as my daughter, not as my student. And I was like, I don't have the patience for that. But, you know, I think having patience and dealing with situations, whether it's homeschooling or anything else, it's kind of like when you're going to have a child. You think, well, I'm not ready to have a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. How do you raise a kid? How do you teach them to sit up? How do you teach them to walk? How do you teach them to talk? You just kind of figure things out as you go. You don't have to know everything all at once when you're a parent, and you don't have to have all the patience in the world when you're a homeschooling parent either. You're going to have days when you just feel like pulling your hair out, and so are your kids. But I think the fact that you acknowledge that you are not perfect and your kids are not perfect, and you're not always going to have just these great days that look like, you know, Pinterest worthy, but you learn patience as time goes on. You learn tolerance for each other as time goes on. It's just something you kind of figure out as time goes on, and you'll be surprised how much patience you have and how much you can grow as a person when you are with people 24/7, being their teacher and their parent. You learn a lot of patience along the way. But I think the main thing is understanding that patience is an acquired skill, and it's definitely something you have to learn over time, and it's something you have to give each other grace for. As long as you like set that expectation in the beginning with your kids and you're like, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not always going to have patience. I'm not always going to have the answers, and neither are you. We're doing this together. We're doing the best we can together, and you just kind of figure it out day by day. So don't let that keep you from homeschooling, because I guarantee you have a lot more patience inside you than you knew you have. You just never have had to test it that much before. But once you do, you learn to live with it, you learn to grow, and it really does change you as a person, not just a homeschooling mom. By the way, I'm sorry if you hear any background noise. Everybody in the whole world is mowing their grass right now, and it's super loud outside, so I'm sorry. Okay, another thing that I really worried about was, what about high school? You know, at that time when we first started homeschooling, I had one child that was barely pre-K, and my oldest was in the middle of 4th grade when we pulled her out of public school. So elementary age kids. You know, high school seemed a long way off, but I knew it was looming, and I knew it intimidated me a lot, because I thought, if I screw that up, then I have screwed up her entire college career too. So I really was worried about that. And I think I figured out over time, and I've said this in other videos before, you don't have to have all of the answers before you start doing something. I don't have to know everything about high school and how to plan classes and how to get them into college and how to do this and that. You don't have to know all that stuff. You will figure a lot of that out along the way as you go. Ask other people, ask other homeschool parents, ask people who have kids who are homeschooled for high school, ask people who have successfully homeschooled for all the way through and now they have kids in college. Do your research, spend the time, take the time to research and look into things. But just remember, you don't have to do all this immediately unless you are starting to homeschool in the middle of high school. But if you have a younger kid who is either early high school or even earlier than that, like middle school or elementary years, don't worry about something that hasn't happened yet. You will learn a lot along the way, and you'll figure things out as you go. Basically, what I would do is just keep a running list of things I needed to ask or find out, or people I needed to call, or things I wanted to know that I would research. I kept this list, and I just, over the time the kids were in school, I would just like go down the list. And obviously, as my oldest daughter has gotten closer and closer to graduating, I've had to make sure and spend a little bit more time working with that list and doing that research, but it's not something I've had to do from the very beginning, and it's not something I've ever had to have all the answers for right now. One thing that has been a huge weight off my shoulders that I have been worried about from the beginning was making a transcript. Your child has to have a transcript to graduate from high school, and they have to have a transcript to go to college. They are going to need that transcript to see what your child has done in high school, what grades they got, their GPA, the credits they earned, all of that stuff. You have to have that. So that really intimidated me, because I knew it was just a piece of paper, but it was very, very important, and I had no clue how to make one. But I sat down, took a few hours to make a transcript template for her that I'm also going to be using for my youngest daughter when she's old enough. Did a lot of research, a lot of looking at samples online and asking other parents who had kids in college that, you know, had homeschool, had graduated from a high school homeschool, to figure out what to put on this template. And now that it's all done and I've submitted it to a few colleges, she's actually been accepted into 2 colleges, and she's already enrolled in a dual enrollment class for junior year. So obviously whatever I did was sufficient, and I'm actually offering that to you guys just because I know for me it was a huge stress that I worried about, and now it's a huge weight off my shoulders that it's done. It's completely editable. You can change it as much as you want. I can go in and change it as much as I want. So if you're interested in purchasing it, it's only $10, and you can use it for as many kids as you want. You can make as many changes to it as you want because it is completely editable. And I feel like me having this for my own kids, but then offering it to you, hopefully will help you guys out and de-stress you a little bit if you're worried about that. You don't have to worry about it because I've already done all the work for you. So if you're interested in that editable download, then email me at aplacetonest@gmail.com. It's only $10. After you send me the $10 in PayPal, I send you the link for the download, and you can use it as many times as you want. So hopefully that'll be helpful to you guys. But that was something that, again, I worried about for so long, but once I actually got to the time to do it, it just took a little bit of research to figure out what to put on it. But I did it, and it worked, and it was successful, and I was worried about it for so many years for nothing. And the last thing, and this is probably like the #1 thing people say about homeschooling, is the socialization. Well, my kids are going to be freaks. They're not going to have any friends. They're going to have terrible social skills. Well, first of all, I know plenty of public school kids who have no social skills. And that has nothing to do with being homeschooled. It's all in how you approach it. And I went to public school and I didn't have that many friends. I didn't have this glorious social life. I mean, yes, I saw a lot of kids at school, but it was really quantity over quality. The difference between homeschooling and public schooling as far as socialization goes, yes, you do have to put a little bit more work into it. You do have to make sure that you're giving your kids those opportunities to meet people and to get social skills. So not just people their own age. Obviously, it's important to mix with all age groups so they can learn to talk to everybody. But when it does come to people their own age, there are so many places you can go and activities and things you can utilize to give your kids these experiences with kids their own age. The local libraries are a great place. A lot of them have teen groups and teen nights. Of course, church, our girls are both really active in church and have a lot of friends from there. Prior to this quarantine, they were going skating every week, a couple times a week with their dad. And they went with him because I don't skate. And they would meet people there. They met quite a few friends that way, and then they'll have friends of friends from that, and just dance lessons and all different types of lessons, homeschool co-ops and other homeschool groups. There are tons of ways you can get your kids out and active and social. It doesn't require them to be in a school setting 6 hours a day in public school. So you just have to do the effort on your part to be seeking out these places and opportunities for them to go and be able to meet people and make friends. So you don't have to rely on public school to have a well-socialized child. Now, those were really my 4 main concerns when it came to thinking of homeschooling. Maybe you guys have had some of the same concerns. I'm sure you probably have at least 1 or 2 of these. I don't know, but I just feel like if we all were honest and we could talk to every homeschooling parent out there, I guarantee you that they have all at least had 1 or 2 of these concerns when they started homeschooling or thought about homeschooling. And I just wanted to encourage you guys that there are roadblocks to every decision. There are hard parts of every journey. And nobody ever said homeschooling was easy. Nothing really in life is. But if you feel like it's what you should do, or you feel like it's what's best for your kids, you will figure it out. You will do what it takes to make it successful for them because you love them. That's the main thing. That's the most important thing. Is it all really boils down to you and you putting in the time and the research and the effort to do what it takes to knock all of these concerns and fears out of the water. And I know you guys can and you will if you really put the time and thought and effort into it. So I hope it encouraged you and motivated you. And if you guys have any questions, thoughts, concerns, if you homeschool and you had any other fears besides the ones that I mentioned, leave those for me in the comments so that everybody can read them. We can kind of get a conversation going about, you know, how that we might have been afraid of this, but it worked out okay because of this. Or I'm still struggling because of this, but I'm trying to work through it by doing this. That's really how we help each other out, is just kind of bouncing ideas off each other and sharing experiences and realizing in so many situations, no matter what kind of video I make, so many comments come through of like, I felt this way too, and I thought I was the only one. Well, I guarantee you, you're not the only one that is feeling the way you do. No matter what you're feeling, I guarantee you, you're not the only one who has ever felt that way. If you like homeschooling videos, make sure you give this one a thumbs up. If you're interested in my editable template for the transcript, don't forget to email me at aplacetonest@gmail.com, and we will talk about getting that download to you so you can use it for your own high schooler. So I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you some motivation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.